secret to getting those bolts undone in the end, so the bolt, which is the bolt head here, and the nut down the bottom there, was just pure brute strength. The difficulty with using the rattle gun was that whatever it was I was jamming in the top would fly off, whereas if I just pulled gradually on it with the strong bar, I could do it. It wasn't easy. It hung on tight, but as you can see though, there's plenty of room for me to get all the way up to the front. I want to lean right over to get to this stuff, which I'm going to need to get to. So for this, for example, the clips, 1, 2, 3, I believe, 4, and then some 10mm bolts which hold that case on. Only then can I get to that water pump, which feels alright, but you might as well just do this stuff while it's off. But I will, as I said, undo this compressor and just lean it to one side to get it out of the way so I can get to that alternator, which is right down there. Because behind the alternator is the thermostat housing. It's not on the top like it usually is with cars, but it's in underneath there. Now part 2 of the job is to tidy up, so we'll go and find ourselves a box and a couple of bags to put those parts and nuts and bolts in, put all the tools away, and then we'll go and get ourselves a cuppa. Just as I wander out here, I'm just uploading the most recent video, Rise of the Troopy number 11, and it's late in the afternoon, but I just thought I'd pop out here and check on a couple of things. I also thought, that because we spend money over time, we don't often think about how much things cost us, but every time you go and buy something, and that's a sealant for the that cover that I was talking about the other day that bolted onto the side of the block. There's $10 there and $12 there and $15 there, and before long you know it, you probably have spent a few $100, but it doesn't seem like much. Now what I have done is glued that, let me show you this, glued that little tab back on that diesel badge. So that's the busted one. I just poked a kebab stick in there to hold it straight while it's set, and it doesn't really matter if it gets glued in there itself. I can nip it off, then drill, and it'll come good. But like I said, then that actually means that I've still got those screw lugs, and I can just put a bit of double-sided tape. This Permatech, this is a not a gasket replacement, but I'll show you where it goes on that plate, and you just need something like this to just to seal it as much as anything else, to stop dust getting in and any splashed oil leaking out. So looking in here, I'm now wondering whether I really should take off that air compressor or not. Not because it's necessarily too difficult, but once I remove the bolts, and there's 4 of them, there'll be a fair amount of weight just sitting on these hoses, and I just don't know where the hell the compressor will want to go, whether it'll just sag and end up sitting on top of the alternator and just being in the way anyway. Whether I just remove these 2 bolts here, and here, and slide the alternator out of the way and then work around it. They're the ones that go through the water pump, and the alternator needs to be out of the way because the thermostat underneath there Getting dark, but we've got a few things done today, and I'll just show you some of the parts we've taken off. So the airbox here, airbox top, hose that goes from the inlet manifold to the airbox, that goes out into the snorkel. Took the snorkel off. That's a little bin that sits underneath the air cleaner, and water and rubbish ends up getting washed or rinsed into there, and that's where it ends up and rusts. And that's the cross pipe that runs across from the inlet manifold that connects up to the air filter. We've already released the alternator, and I'll talk you through some of that in the morning. Have a good night. Well, I've got my companion with me today. She's hanging about the ute though. I think she thinks we're going somewhere. And we actually aren't. We're just going to the backyard. I just want to confirm something. Let's take a quick look. Now, when I pulled off the hose, the air intake hose, this one, I saw that it was split, and in two places, and that's not much good for anything, because this is after the air filter and before the air intake, which means that it's quite likely sucking in dirt after it's had filtered air come in at this end. Now, this isn't anything at all. It's actually a resonator supposed to silence the intake noise, or not necessarily silence, but baffle or modify so that you just don't get that roar or hum from air intake. Anyway, we've got to order a new one of these, and let's go genuine Toyota. Plus, I've got to order a, let's have a look at this poor doggy. Got to order a rocker cover gasket as well. So this is how easy it is to spend money. So there's that hose there at $160, because that's a genuine Toyota one. You can buy cheaper ones, $40 or $50, I think. But look, for the sake of $100, I'd rather just go with the genuine. And then also the rocker cover gasket, also genuine, $38.50, $198.50. I don't know what the shipping is, but let's take a look and see what we get up to. So $15 to post. If you contact Simon Dangerfield and you have a Troopy and you're a member of Troop Carriers of Australia, he'll give you a code. So it goes from 213 to 203, so saving pretty well $10. Paid out. Order is confirmed. Ordered, and I'll probably get that early next week. In the meantime, now what we can do is just go and carry on with a couple of little jobs that we've got to do. Look, we got the airbox off. It was a bit of a struggle, but we got that off the other day. It's pretty filthy under there, so needs a good clean, but it does mean that we can much more easily get to the thermostat housing, which is under there. I don't know if that's focusing or not, but you get the general idea. Let's wash and degrease a few things. We'll start with the easy one, the grill cover. This is just detergent. So this is that little pot that sits underneath the air filter and collects the rubbish. You can see the rubbish that didn't end up in the engine. This is the part that runs between this box here, so from there, and comes out through the guard here for the snorkel or air intake to attach to. We might, when we put it all back together again, see if we can seal it up as much as possible. We're not going to make it perfectly watertight, but at least we can try and limit any water getting in. Are you wandering around in this wet ground, are you? That's good for your bandaged feet, isn't it? You'll be in all sorts of trouble when your mother finds out, won't we? Well, why has she got wet feet, huh? We'll just both say, oh, no idea. Can't imagine how that might happen. So this is where that little box sits underneath, and that collects the rubbish and water that comes out. It's not a closed box, there is a tiny hole in the bottom, and so the water will leak out, leaving behind the dust and dirt. And this is how it works. Air comes in through there, but at an angle, and then it's directed through. I'll hold it like this. Comes in here, is directed through the air filter, so it spins. Centrifugal force will force it all out to the sides, and it will drip out through that hole and end up in that box. It's really quite an ingenious method. Simple. It's using the force of the air itself. It doesn't require any machinery of any sort, but it's well designed. I showed you that little dachshund. He somehow or other managed to come through the fence. Now luckily Millie doesn't know he's there, but he can't find his way back. Let's go and see if we can walk him down the fence and back over. So everyone's been banished to their respective castles. Millie's inside. Little dachshund's been recovered. I don't know whether you saw that, but she went through the gate and then over the fence further down. Back to work. Sadie, the cleaning lady. Wretched handsome, whatever it is, water. Scrubbed her fingers to the bone. or a live sheet is no, providing at the same time for her daughter. There's kind of like mud in it. Just seems like dirt, which I'm assuming is sediment. So water comes in here, pumped in by the water pump, and then trickles down through the radiator and then comes back out the bottom here and into that pipe that I showed you where the thermostat is. So we're going to flush it from the top down. And that doesn't look too murky. We'll let it just run like that for a while. Then we'll flip her up and we'll flush her out backwards. So the reason I go top down first is if there's any rubbish in there, I'd rather flush it out than flush it back up into the core. That looks pretty good. I think the reason it looked murky before was because I was looking at it in that overflow bottle and you saw how much mud was in that. This looks pretty good. So we're going to flush the engine block in exactly the same way, and that is that as the water comes out from the bottom and then is pumped back up through the engine, we'll flush from the bottom first and then reverse it. So we'll have to remove the thermostat, because if the thermostat is sealing off the hole, then the water won't get back into the block until it warms up, and of course it's not going to do that. So let's take off that thermostat. So see that? That is the thermostat cover, and that pipe down there is where right down there is where the water comes in from the bottom of the radiator up through there and into the block right there. So we just got to pull that off. Now they're 12mm bolts. So both of those bolts are out. Now it's just a matter of setting it free. Now often what happens is people put a lot of gasket goo or whatever the hell it is on it, and so it appears that it's stuck, but it's just held there by the adhesive. I'm just going to give it a tap from underneath and it should drop off. So I want you to keep an eye on it for me. Well, that wasn't entirely successful. In fact, it wasn't successful at all. Let's see if we can knock it free from this end with a block of wood. And that's not working either. Don't tell me there's another. If there's something else holding that on, I'll be very surprised. Let's go and have a look from underneath. There actually is. And as we're just about to run out of battery, you might miss the best bit. But it's down there, underneath there. You may not be able to see it. There it is. And that there was that stray bolt, so there's a lesson for us all.